Have you ever cried over a door that shut in your face? A relationship that ended? A job you didn't get? An opportunity that slipped away? You wondered, why would God let this happen? Why would he shut me out? What if I told you the very thing you're grieving was actually the thing that saved you? Have you ever had a door slam shut in your life so hard that it left you stunned? A job you knew was yours, but the phone call never came. A relationship you thought would last forever, but the goodbye came quicker than you expected. An opportunity you prayed for, fasted for, believed for, and yet the answer came back as a resounding no. And when that door closed, your heart whispered one word: rejection. But what if the very thing you called rejection was never rejection at all? What if it was redirection? What if God closed that door because he was guiding you away from something you couldn't see, steering you toward something greater than you imagined? See, we often confuse the silence of heaven with abandonment, but silence is not absence. A closed door is not abandonment. It is strategy. It is navigation. It is God saying, I won't let you waste years of your life on something beneath what I created you for. Think about it when a parent says no to a child. Is it because they don't love the child? No, it's because they love them enough to guard them. That no isn't rejection, it's protection. It's not withholding, it's wisdom. And when God closes a door in your life, he is not pushing you down, he is pulling you forward. Closed doors are often the very instruments God uses to move us into alignment with our purpose. Because if he let every door swing open, we would settle in places that can't carry the weight of our calling. We would stop short of destiny and think we had arrived. Sometimes the only way God can get you to move from comfort to calling, from average to extraordinary, from safe to supernatural, is to close the door you were leaning on. Imagine this: you're walking down a hallway filled with doors. You try the first one and it opens. But it's not your door, it's someone else's. You try the second, it creaks open, but inside is disappointment waiting to wrap its arms around you. The third one looks right, sounds right, feels right, but it's a counterfeit blessing dressed up in the disguise of opportunity. And just as you reach for the handle, just as you prepare to step inside, God shuts it in your face. You cry, you pound, you beg. But what you don't realize is that if he let you walk through that door, you would never make it to the one he prepared just for you. Closed doors are not rejection. They are redirection. They are God's way of rerouting you to destiny. You thought you lost the job, but in reality, you gained your freedom. You thought you lost the relationship, but in reality, you were spared from heartbreak you couldn't recover from. You thought you lost the chance, but in reality, you gained the space for the right chance to find you. Too often we sit outside closed doors like beggars waiting for them to open again. We replay the pain, rehearse the loss, relive the disappointment. But can I tell you something? That door is closed for a reason. And the longer you stare at it, the longer you'll miss the new door God is opening down the hallway. Closed doors force you to move. Closed doors push you forward. Closed doors are God's way of saying, this chapter is finished. I've already written the next one. Stop trying to read the old page when I've turned it for you. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a human can face because it attacks your sense of worth. But the truth is, what you call rejection is not about your worth. It's about your direction. God is not rejecting you. He is redirecting you. He is shifting your position, moving you out of places that would limit you, steering you into places that will expand you. Every closed door carries a hidden message. You were made for more than this. Sometimes you have to lose the lesser to gain the greater. Sometimes the door you wanted was too small for the future God designed. Sometimes the door you cried for could not carry the weight of the blessing he planned. Closed doors are not rejection. They are realignment. When the door closes, don't collapse. Don't curse the heavens. Don't live bitter. Don't call yourself a failure. Lift your head, square your shoulders, and recognize if the door shut, it's shut because it wasn't mine. If the door locked, it locked because there is another opening waiting on me. If the opportunity slipped away, it slipped away because it wasn't in God's design for my destiny. Because here's the truth. God doesn't just guide by opening doors, He guides by closing them too. We shout over the doors He opens, but we rarely thank Him for the doors He closed. Yet the closed doors are often the ones that save us. They save us from wrong people, wrong places, wrong seasons, wrong opportunities. They save us from wasted years, wasted energy, wasted heartache. They save us from ourselves, from our impatience, from our short-sightedness. That's why you can't measure your future by the doors of your past. What closed behind you is not a verdict against you. It's a signal for what's ahead of you. Closed doors don't define you. They refine you. They shape you into someone who can handle the open doors when they finally appear. And when you begin to see life through that lens, you stop resenting the closed doors. You start thanking God for them. You stop mourning the loss and start expecting the gain. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start saying, where are you leading me now? Sometimes the most dangerous thing in life is not the enemy you can see, but the trap you cannot see. It's not always the storm you hear about that breaks you, but the silent one brewing just beyond your vision. And this is where God shows His love in a way we don't always understand. He closes doors, not because He wants to deny us something, but because He wants to protect us from what we cannot see. You see, we are limited creatures. We live in the now. God lives in eternity. We see what's in front of us. God sees the whole map. While we are crying over what we missed, He is smiling because He knows what He saved us from. And the truth is, there are some doors you prayed for, some doors you longed for, some doors you were sure you needed. That would have become the doorway to your destruction. And instead of letting you walk straight into the enemy's snare, God, in His mercy, closed the door. Have you ever looked back at something you once wanted so badly and thought to yourself, thank God I didn't get that? At the time, it broke your heart. At the time, you thought life was over. At the time, you thought that door was everything you needed to be whole. But now, standing on the other side, with a little more wisdom, a little more clarity, a little more healing, you can see what you couldn't see then. You can see that the door wasn't a blessing. It was a trap. You can see that the opportunity wasn't an opportunity. It was a setup for pain. You can see that the relationship wasn't love. It was chains waiting to bind you. And when you see that, you realize that the door that closed was never rejection at all. It was divine protection. The danger of life is that not every open door is a good door. Some doors open wide because the enemy wants you to walk in freely. Some doors look appealing because they are designed to bait you. Some doors are shiny on the outside but rotten within. That's why God in His sovereignty does not let every door swing open. Some He slams shut. Some He locks and throws away the key. Some He allows to crack just enough for you to peek in, but then He shuts it before you can step inside. Because what's waiting behind that door could have destroyed you. Think of it like this: if you're driving on a road and there's a bridge up ahead that has collapsed, and the city sets up a barricade to stop you from going forward, would you call that barricade rejection? No, you'd call it protection. You might be angry in the moment, frustrated that your trip is delayed, but the truth is that blockade saved your life. In the same way, when God puts up a barricade in your life, when He blocks the road you thought you were meant to travel, it's not to hold you back. It's to hold you together. He saw the bridge was out. He saw the collapse ahead. He saw the danger you didn't know existed. And in his mercy, he stopped you before you could hurt yourself. But here's the struggle. Protection often feels like punishment when you don't have perspective. Because when that door closes, it feels like God is against you. It feels like the heavens betrayed you. It feels like your prayers bounced off the ceiling. But if you could see what God sees, if you could know what he knows, you would fall on your knees and thank him for every door that did not open. Because those closed doors kept you alive. Those closed doors kept you sane. Those closed doors kept you from being in places you were never meant to be. And let me tell you something, some of the people who walked away from you, they didn't walk away because you weren't enough. They walked away because God protected you. If they had stayed, they would have drained you dry. If they had stayed, they would have broken your spirit. If they had stayed, you would have settled for less than you were created for. So instead of asking why they left, maybe you need to start thanking God that he shut that door before you gave away more of yourself. Closed doors are not random. They are strategic. They are heaven's way of building a wall between you and danger. They are God saying, I refuse to let you settle for less. I refuse to let you self-destruct. I refuse to let the enemy use you as a casualty. And though you may not understand it in the moment, one day when enough time passes, when the fog clears, when the wounds heal, you will look back and realize that the doors you hated were actually the doors that saved you. That's why you can't live bitter about what didn't happen. You can't keep replaying the scenes of what you lost. You can't keep asking, why me? You've got to lift your head and recognize if that door closed, it wasn't punishment, it was prevention. If that opportunity vanished, it wasn't rejection, it was protection. If that person walked out, it wasn't abandonment, it was deliverance. Because the God who holds your future refuses to let unseen dangers sabotage your destiny. One of the hardest things to deal with in life is delay. Waiting rooms can feel like prisons. You pray, you believe, you sow, you work, you knock, and yet the door still doesn't open. The silence feels heavy, and the clock feels loud. You look at your life and wonder, why is it taking so long? Why hasn't it happened yet? Why does it seem like God keeps saying no? But here's the truth. Every delay is not denial. And even when God says no, it is not to diminish you. It is to develop you. Because what looks like denial is often divine preparation. What feels like delay is often divine positioning. Every moment you wait, every prayer that seems unanswered, every opportunity that passes you by is not wasted. It is God making room for something greater. See, we live in a world that glorifies speed. We want instant gratification. We want miracles overnight. We want success without struggle, progress without process. But God is not on our clock. He is not pressured by our timelines. He is not intimidated by our deadlines. He works in seasons, not seconds. And sometimes he delays the blessing because he knows if he gave it to you too soon, you would not be able to hold it. A tree doesn't bear fruit the day it's planted. A seed must be buried, watered, cultivated, and broken before it blossoms. And you too are a seed in the soil of God's plan. The waiting is not punishment, it's preparation. The denial is not rejection, it's refinement. Because while you think nothing is happening, roots are growing beneath the surface. Strength is being built in secret. Character is being forged in silence. Delay is the womb of destiny, and what feels like a pause is often the process that ensures you'll be able to carry the promise. Think about this. If you hand a set of car keys to a 5-year-old child, it's not a blessing, it's a curse. It's not a gift, it's a danger. Not because the car isn't good, not because the child isn't loved, but because the timing is wrong. And sometimes God looks at your prayer and says, yes, I'll give it to you, but not yet. Yes, I'll open that door, but not today. Yes, I'll bring that opportunity, but not in this season, because he knows that premature blessings can become future burdens. He knows that what you want right now may crush you if you're not prepared for it. That's why you can't despise the delay. The delay is training ground. The delay is where God builds your endurance, your resilience, your faith. The denial is where he teaches you to trust him when the answer is no, to believe him when the evidence says otherwise. And every time you hear no, every time you feel blocked, every time you're forced to wait, remember, it is not wasted. It is God making room, clearing space, aligning details so that when the blessing comes, it will fit perfectly into your life. Some of you have been mad at God because you thought he denied you, but the truth is he was making space for what was truly yours. You thought that relationship was supposed to work, but it didn't, because the greater love story hasn't even walked into your life yet. You thought that job was supposed to be yours, but it slipped away because the position being prepared has your name on it. You thought that dream was dead because the door didn't open, but what you didn't realize is that God was stretching your capacity. So when the dream finally manifests, you'll be big enough to hold it. Delay is often disguised promotion. When God makes you wait, it's because he is building the platform under your feet. He is enlarging the territory. He is preparing the blessing so that when it arrives, it won't be small, it won't be fragile, it won't be temporary. It will be lasting. It will be full. It will be beyond anything you imagined. Sometimes God will even deny you something you begged for, only to give you something you never knew to ask for. And when it comes, you realize why the denial was necessary. Because if he had said yes back then you would have settled. You would have lived beneath your potential. You would have locked yourself into something that could not grow with you. The denial was not rejection. It was redirection towards something greater. And here's the thing. You may not see the greater right now. You may be standing in the middle of delay, tired, frustrated, worn down, ready to quit. But even in that place, you've got to remind yourself, if God hasn't opened the door, it's because he's preparing a better one. If he hasn't said yes, it's because he's protecting you from what looks like good, but isn't great. If he hasn't allowed the breakthrough yet, it's because the breakthrough is still being built. Every delay has purpose. Every no carries weight. Every pause is divine. Because God is not just trying to give you what you asked for. He is trying to give you what you were created for. And the two are not always the same. One of the greatest traps in life is the temptation to keep staring at a closed door, to keep replaying what could have been, what should have been, what you thought would last forever but didn't. We stand in front of that door with our memories pressed against the wood, our hearts pounding against what's locked, hoping somehow it will swing open again. But the truth is, your future is not behind the closed door. Your destiny is not in what walked away. Your promise is not in what shut down. Your future is in the open path ahead. See, the enemy would love nothing more than to keep you glued to a past season, trapped in what used to be, bound to what no longer exists. Because as long as you are staring at the door that closed, you'll miss the one that's opening. As long as you are weeping over what ended, you'll be blind to what's beginning. As long as you are holding on to yesterday, your hands won't be free to receive tomorrow. Closed doors have a way of freezing our vision, but God is calling you to lift your eyes and look forward, because what's ahead of you is far greater than what's behind you. Think about it. When the Israelites left Egypt, God closed the door behind them. Pharaoh's army drowned in the Red Sea, and there was no going back. But the wilderness wasn't the end. It was just the hallway to the promised land. They could have mourned Egypt forever, remembering the leeks and the onions, remembering the familiarity of slavery. but their destiny wasn't behind them. Their future wasn't in the chains they left. It was in the land flowing with milk and honey. And the same is true for you. The closed door is not your conclusion. It's proof that your story is still unfolding. The reason many people miss the future is because they romanticize the past. They replay the relationship that ended, imagining it better than it was. They think of the opportunity that slipped away, forgetting the sleepless nights and heavy stress that came with it. They glorify Egypt, forgetting it was a place of bondage. Closed doors can trick your memory, making you believe you lost something precious, when in truth God removed something poisonous. And if you keep standing there wishing it back, you'll miss the land He's trying to lead you into. That's why you must make peace with what closed. You must learn how to bury chapters without burying yourself with them. You must learn how to say, yes, it ended. Yes, it hurt. Yes, I thought it would last. But if it closed, then it wasn't my future. Your destiny is never tied to what left your life. It is always tied to what's ahead of your life. And as long as you breathe, God still has more. Your future is not in the people who walked out. If they were necessary for your next level, they wouldn't have left. Your future is not in the job you lost. If it were your permanent assignment, it wouldn't have ended. Your future is not in the dream that collapsed. If it were the fullness of your purpose, it would have endured. What God has for you is not locked behind that door. What He has for you is waiting down the path that He is clearing ahead. And here's the challenge. The open path doesn't always look like a door. Sometimes it looks like wilderness. Sometimes it looks like uncertainty. Sometimes it looks like a place where you don't know what's next. And that's when faith has to rise. Because if you keep staring at what closed, you'll be paralyzed. But if you dare to trust God, if you dare to put one foot in front of the other, if you dare to walk into the unknown, you'll discover that what looked like a barren path was actually the road to abundance. It takes courage to stop staring at a closed door. It takes faith to release the grip on what you thought was yours. It takes vision to lift your eyes from the past and start walking toward the future. But every step forward is a declaration: my destiny is not behind me, it is before me. Every step forward is a testimony: what God has for me cannot be locked out of my life. Every step forward is a prophecy: I refuse to die at the door, I will live in the promise. Think about a runner in a race. If he keeps turning around to look at the starting line, he will never reach the finish. His eyes must stay on the track ahead. His focus must remain forward. The same is true in life. You can't finish your race while staring behind you. You can't embrace your future while holding onto your past. The door closed, yes. The chapter ended, yes. But the story is not over. The author is still writing, and the next line is ahead of you, not behind you. So don't let the closed door define you. Don't let it label you as unworthy, forgotten, or finished. Don't let it trick you into believing that your best days are behind you. Your best days are never behind you when God is with you. Because with Him, the glory is always ahead. The breakthrough is always ahead. The open path is always ahead. The door that closed was simply the exit. The path before you is the entrance into the greater.